It was a Tuesday morning like any other in the small town of Havenwood, a place where nothing much ever changed. People stuck to their routines, passing by familiar storefronts and waving to neighbors they'd known their whole lives. And in that sleepy rhythm, tucked behind the corner gas station was a modest garage where 28-year-old Ethan Bellwether spent most of his days. Grease-stained jeans, a dusty blue work shirt with his name embroidered above the chest pocket, and fingers permanently marked with oil defined him more than any resume ever could. That morning, the air in the garage was thick with the scent of motor oil, rubber, and the hum of quiet effort. Ethan was crouched beside a rusted Honda Civic, tightening a bolt beneath the chassis when he first heard a soft scraping sound, faint but persistent, like something being dragged along pavement. Curious, he stood, wiped his hands on a rag, and stepped outside. Coming slowly up the sidewalk was an elderly woman hunched over a broken mobility scooter. Her hands trembled as she struggled to push it forward, the wheels catching on every crack in the concrete. Gray hair framed a face lined with exhaustion and quiet pride. Cars zipped by without slowing. Pedestrians glanced and kept walking. Ethan didn't hesitate. He jogged over and gently placed a hand on the scooter. "Ma'am, let me help you," he said softly. She looked up startled, eyes rimmed red with fatigue, and nodded wordlessly. "It just stopped," she murmured. "Can't walk far without it." "Don't worry," Ethan said, already steering the scooter toward his garage. "Let's get you out of the sun and take a look." He had no idea that moment, barely a few minutes of kindness, would cost him his job and change everything. Inside, Ethan offered her a seat in the shade and got to work. The scooter was a decades-old model with brittle wiring and a battery that hadn't been updated since before smartphones were invented. He didn't ask her name or financial situation. He didn't quote a price. He simply worked carefully replacing wires, realigning parts, and eventually installing a fresh battery from his own inventory. 2 hours passed. When he finally rolled the scooter back to her, fully functional, she stared in disbelief. "How much do I owe you?" she asked, voice shaking. "Nothing," he replied with a warm smile. "Just ride safe." She didn't say much more, just thanked him quietly and rode away. But across the street, parked in a sleek black Mercedes, someone had been watching, listening, taking notes. The next morning, Ethan showed up at work as usual. The garage was still cool with the early air, but his manager, Derek Hayes, stood at the door, arms crossed, clipboard in hand. "We need to talk," Derek said flatly. Ethan blinked. "Okay." "You performed unauthorized repairs yesterday," Derek continued. "Used company inventory. Didn't charge the customer. That's theft." "She couldn't afford it," Ethan replied. "You're fired." The words hit like a slap. Derek didn't explain further, just turned and walked inside, leaving Ethan standing alone as the door slammed shut. Jobless, no warning, nothing. With trembling hands, Ethan packed up what little he had into a cardboard box, a wrench set, a stained rag, and a photo of him and his grandfather beside their first rebuilt engine. He walked the familiar streets of Havenwood, now unfamiliar with shame. Whispers followed him. People glanced, but didn't speak. By the time he reached his tiny apartment above a diner, the weight of it all crushed him. Rent was due, bills were stacking up, and now nothing. He slumped onto his couch, the world pressing down. That's when the knock came. He hesitated, then opened the door. Standing before him was a man in a gray suit, dark sunglasses, calm as stone. Behind him, parked at the curb, a deep navy blue Rolls-Royce idled, sleek and quiet. "Mr. Ethan Bellwether?" the man asked. "Yes. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Evelyn Carrington. She requests your presence." Before he could respond, the tinted window of the Rolls-Royce lowered slowly. Inside sat the same woman from the day before, but this time she looked different. Her scarf was gone, revealing a pearl necklace that rested at her throat. Her posture was poised, eyes sharp. "Get in, Ethan," she said simply. And somehow he did. Inside the rolls, she turned to him. "You gave me something yesterday that can't be bought. Kindness when no one was watching. I've been looking for someone like you." He stared, bewildered. "I just fixed a scooter. And you changed everything." The car turned and Ethan's eyes widened. Ahead, lining the street, was a convoy of luxury vehicles, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, Teslas, all idling in silent formation. People gathered on sidewalks, phones out, mouths agape. The rolls led the procession to the edge of town, to an old warehouse that had long been abandoned. Only now its doors were wide open. Evelyn stepped out. "Follow me." Inside, Ethan walked into something he couldn't believe. Rows of electric scooters, custom-designed vehicles, engineers bustling between state-of-the-art workstations, machines hummed with life. It wasn't a garage, it was a movement. "This is Carrington Mobility," Evelyn said. "We've been building quietly, not for fame, for impact." She paused. "I've had everything money can buy, but I want to build something different, and I want someone like you to help lead it." He stammered. "Why me?" "Because you helped a woman who looked like she had nothing. You didn't know who I was, and you didn't ask." She signaled to a man nearby. Moments later, a sleek electric scooter, matte black with gold accents, was rolled in, on its handlebar etched in elegant script, "Built by heart, not by hire." "You rebuilt mine," Evelyn said. "Our engineers studied every wire, every fix. That's your blueprint now." She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside, a job offer, Executive Director of Innovation, starting salary that made him blink twice. "And that SUV," she added, pointing to a black SUV parked outside. "It's yours now." "Part of the job." Ethan stood frozen. "You saw someone invisible," she whispered. "Now it's your turn to be seen." The next morning, dressed in a custom black suit, Ethan stood before a mirror. The SUV waited outside, but this ride wasn't to a job interview. It was a return. Carrington Mobility had quietly acquired the very dealership that had fired him. Contract signed, ownership transferred, but one final step remained, so he did it. The dealership buzzed with early chatter. Laughter, coffee in hand. Then the matte black SUV pulled in. Doors opened. Ethan stepped out. Silence fell. A few gasps. One voice, "Wait, is that the guy we fired?" He walked straight through the glass doors, unbothered, purposeful. In the center of the showroom, he turned to the crowd. Evelyn entered behind him, dressed in a white suit that radiated authority. "I'm Evelyn Carrington," she announced. "As of today, this dealership belongs to Carrington Mobility. And this man, Ethan Bellwether, is your new regional director." Shock rippled. The old manager paled. Ethan stepped forward. "I came here once asking for help. I was laughed at, turned away." He paused. "I'm not here to settle scores. I'm here to show what happens when we lead with heart." Applause began slowly, then grew. That day, the dealership transformed. Toxic leadership replaced. Staff retrained. Ethics policies rewritten. Ethan's name glowed on the office door that once denied him entry. Weeks passed. Word spread. Carrington Mobility became a national symbol not just for innovation, but for compassion. Customer stories flooded in. Sales soared. But more than that, people felt something different when they walked in. Near the entrance hung a framed photo. Ethan, soaked in rain, holding a tire iron, smiling. Beneath it, kindness is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. The image became the face of a nationwide campaign. And all of it, every ripple of change, began with one man who chose to help when no one was watching.